Have a look at paper 2 writing, which is your question 5 on the non-fiction paper in the GCSE English Language exam. Okay, we're going to go through it quickly. We're going to look at some example questions. We're going to look at the mark scheme quickly, and then we're going to look at a plan that you could use that might help you, and how you might want to use the plan. So, first of all, let's have a look at some examples. All sport should be fun, fair and open to everyone. These days, sport seems to be more about money, corruption and winning at any cost. Write an article for a newspaper in which you explain your point of view on this statement, and you will have 45 minutes to do that. Another example, cars are noisy, dirty, smelly and downright dangerous. They should be banned from all town and city centres, allowing people to walk and cycle in peace. Write a letter, this time, to the Minister of Transport arguing your point of view on this statement. Look at 2 more. Homework has no value. Some students get it done for them, some don't do it at all. Students should be relaxing in their free time. Write an article for a broadsheet newspaper in which you explain your point of view on this statement. And the last one we'll look at, and then we'll see what they've all got in common. Snow seems like it's picturesque, exciting and fun, but in reality it causes accidents, inconvenience and economic disruption. Write an article for a broadsheet newspaper in which you explain your point of view on this issue. So you can see there's a pattern. You can see that you can expect certain things from this question. You're going to be given a statement, an opinionated statement, and in it, if you notice all the red that I've highlighted, there's a problem. So it's stating that there is a problem, and you need to argue or explain, which is the same thing, how you feel about it. Now, because they're presenting you with a problem, I'm going to suggest that you don't say there's no problem. I'm going to suggest that you agree that there is a problem, but then you also recommend a solution. So that's going to be how we're going to plan to answer this. Now, let's just remind ourselves, what do we have to remember when we're thinking about the mark scheme? You're explaining your point of view. You've got 45 minutes, 40 marks broken down into 24 for content and organisation and 16 for technical accuracy. Remember, your question 5s on paper 1 and 2 are the only questions where you get marks for technical accuracy. So this is where you're showing the examiner what you can do with your spelling, punctuation and grammar. But let's have a look at the content first. What's that? That's your clear communication. That's what we're looking for. Is the tone matched to purpose and audience? And if you chose the words and phrases for effect, that's where we'll look at putting language techniques into your plan. So you're consciously using them for effect. And the organisation. What order do you say things in? Have you used your useful structural features that have been effective? And have you connected your paragraphs together? And then technical accuracy. We'll look at more on how to work on particularly punctuation in other videos. But those are 16 marks on that. Okay, so let's just have a look at a quick plan. Pick up on the problem in the statement and describe it first, and you involve the audience in that statement. You want to be persuasive, so you want to make the audience feel like this affects them. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to outline the problem, we're going to get the audience involved, and I'll show you some language techniques that might help you do that in a second. Then you're going to make the audience feel better. You're going to wind them up and make them think, my goodness, this actually is a real problem. And then you're going to say, but it's okay. This is what we can do to fix it. And then in the conclusion, you're just going to give the audience one thing that they can go away and do starting from today. So you're ending on a positive. So even though we've got a problem, you're going to try and use it in order to do something good. So you need to be using language techniques consciously, really. So I'm suggesting that you start with an anecdote. I love an anecdote. It's a personal story, and it should be interesting, and it will get the audience hooked in. Everybody likes to hear a little story, and this will get you sort of warmed up and get you writing away as well. Now you can make it up, of course you can, you're in the exam, but make it realistic. Okay, a personal story that outlines the problem. I'll give you an example of one of these in a minute. And then other language techniques that you can consciously use. Obviously, we have rhetorical questions. Don't overuse those. But statistics, or quoting experts. Explain how the problem affects the readers. That's very important. Using the right pronouns. Emotive language and maybe superlatives. Okay. If you don't know what any of those are, go away and have a look. You can find them. Plenty of things that will explain what they are. Then we're going to go on to the solution. You can start the solution with imagine a world where this wasn't the case. Imagine if things were different, how much better would they be? And then you're going to very emotively show the audience that things could be much better. And then the conclusion can be small. That's just where you maybe ask the people in the audience, starting from tomorrow, why don't you? Maybe it's about recycling. Just start separating out your rubbish. Or starting from tomorrow, why don't you walk to the shop instead of getting the car? Whatever it is that you think that could be done, one small thing, okay, to motivate the reader. And then you've done something. You've persuaded them to do something. All right, so that's a nice, simple structure for your writing. Let's have a quick look then at how we could use it. And I'm not going to do the full piece of writing here. I'm going to get you started. And then you can have a go at finishing off this piece of writing following that plan. I will try and put up some examples, some full examples, as I've done for paper 1, of responses to question 5s. So let's have a look at this question. Cars are noisy, dirty, smelly and downright dangerous. There's your problem. They should be banned from all town and city centres, allowing people to walk and cycle in peace. So you could incorporate that into your solution, couldn't you? How that might happen. So this one's a letter to the Minister for Transport arguing your point of view on this statement. There's the plan that we just looked at. We'll keep that at the side. And this is how we're going to start. It's a letter, so we don't have to put our address. You're not going to get any marks for your address, but just show the examiner you've read it properly. You know it's a letter. So you can pop the date there and Dear Minister for Transport. Now here's your anecdote. This is your personal story. This is an example of, so your problem is that cars are noisy, dirty, smelly and downright dangerous. What could a personal story that you've experienced, what could that be? So here's an example. Just yesterday I was walking along the pavement in the city centre with my gran. Just as we arrived at the cafe we were visiting, we witnessed a very shocking incident. A car driving very fast drove so close to a cyclist that it caused her to swerve and fall onto the pavement, crashing into several pedestrians. We rushed over to see who was hurt, and although people had only suffered minor injuries, everyone was very shocked and upset, including the car driver. Now, there's no blood and guts and gore. It's not, let's have it realistic, something that you could very realistically have witnessed. And in there, I've consciously been using my punctuation. Look, I've got a colon here, beginning a list of what happened. A car driving very fast drove so close to a cyclist that it caused her to swerve. So think of your punctuation. We've got suffered minor injuries, pedestrians spelt correctly. Be consciously thinking of your technical accuracy as well. So there's your anecdote. What might come next? Maybe a rhetorical question. How often must we witness these things before something is done? And again, that we, okay, that's your pronoun, involving the audience, involving the reader. And then perhaps you want to get in a statistic, or you might want to quote an expert. There were 15 accidents involving cars in the city centre last year. This makes the city centre unsafe for people who want to walk and cycle, not to mention the pollution from congested traffic. Now that 15 accidents is not real. I've plucked that out of the air, trying to make it seem important but not too exaggerated. I've no idea how that relates to reality, but in this exam you're not being tested on actual knowledge and facts. It's just your ability to put down something convincing. Okay, so you can see how I'm going on now. I've got to here. I've got to just getting towards the bottom of the problem. This is the first part of your writing. So then you want to go on with the solution. Imagine a world where you can walk through the city centre without having to breathe in pollution, etc. It's your job now to go on and do the solution. I'm going to leave that to you and the conclusion, and I'll put some examples, some complete examples up at a later date. Okay? Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next video.